All right. Now we're gonna do this video on the Empress Ecosystems right now, and we're also gonna do a little comparison with the Diamond Memory Lane Junior, which is one of my favorite simpler delays, and then the Starlight, which is a state-of-the-art newest thing. And these are all digital, but they do a lot of emulations of gear that's your more analog gear like tape and bucket brigade delays. So I'm gonna get right into it. I have a setting here. Right now, and I'll show you how to use the presets in a second, but right now I just have a basic setting so you can hear what it sounds like. That's off, and now. This is a little bit of a darker setting, a preset I liked, I'll switch the tone to get in like a little more of a set. You can make the tone brighter, make the tone darker. Very murky, right? Putting the delay and the mix up pretty high so you can really hear the effect. That's very murky. Just put it a little bit on the darker side. It does kind of the dark sound pretty cool. The bucket brigade settings are usually a little on the darker side anyway, because they kind of, as they degrade, it gets darker, murkier, and that's kind of the cool thing about that vibe. Actually, no, this is tape. Sorry, not bucket brigade. So it's not quite, the tape usually doesn't degrade that much unless it's really old. And as you see with the Starlight, the tape, even the mode C, which is like the older tape, doesn't get that dark. So it's a matter of opinion what you prefer. It does have a tone on it, which is cool. This is the analog, which is more like the tape, the bucket brigade. Change it. So as you can see, I pulled the preset to get close, and then I kind of twiddled the knobs to get what I wanted for right this second. So what I dig about this pedal versus, let's say, the timeline is the timeline, you kind of got to go menu diving. It's a little trickier. Here you kind of see right on the screen which mode you're in. The colored presets, it's a little more intuitive. I mean, some people are going to prefer the timelines or the way it works because you could store the names of the presets, but I hate menu diving. And with this, is very easy. All you have to do is kind of twiddle the knobs to dial it in. You just press this, hold this down, and then pick the preset you store it in the preset that you want. I won't go into the details of that. I forget how to do it exactly, but it's really simple. Because sometimes you can say, oh, I like this preset, but then you get at the gig, it's too wet or too dry or too whatever, and you just twiddle it just a little bit, save the preset. And also, if you're in a preset and then you twiddle a knob, notice the lights, they fade, so it lets you know that you're no longer in the preset. I know. Right now we're really more concerned about demoing the sound of it and kind of the overall. It's not an instruction manual type of video. But it is really easy. I found I was just playing with it for a little while, and even with all the things that it does, I was able to just dial in different sounds, all the different all the different types of modes, and and twiddle them and tweak them and save the presets. Really easy, really intuitive, I thought. It's not as simple as, let's say, the diamond or something like that. But for all the things that it does, I think it's easy to use and easy to store the presets. So very intuitive. And on stage, you could even change and tweak things. Try that with the timeline. I always forget which thing to hold down and whatever. And the sound is very solid. So let's compare this sound. Right now I'm going to focus just on those two modes, and then there's a couple other modes that gives some freaky, crazy, spacey sounds that I want to show because they are pretty cool. And then I'll give you my overall, what I think. So let's go with this is kind of the Bucket Brigade-ish. Let's compare that to the diamond. Speed about the same. Take the modulation off. Just back to the Echosystem. Move different settings. Just a little bit closer as far as the settings. I really do like the sound of the Marmalade Junior. It just kind of like sits really nice. It's not super bright. It's not super dark. It kind of fits. It has a little punchiness to it, so you could get that slapbacky thing sometimes. It's not as smooth as like tape delays are kind of, for me, they're a little more smoother, good for ambient, but sometimes more of a Bucket Brigade style, which is I think the Diamond is kind of going for. I think is just a little more transient, and a little darker, which kind of works sitting in the mix too. Good for different things. For my tastes, I kind of still like the Diamond. There's sometimes live. I couldn't get the echo to get exactly what I wanted. It was kind of getting a little, I don't know. One thing I didn't like about the Echosystem is that if I want to get something really low mix, because let's say pushing it into a high gain amp, it's kind of, when you get to the lower settings, it's either on or off, and it's hard to get the subtle nuances. So I'll try to show an example. So let's say maybe I want the mix to be way lower. Obviously, this is the mix off. So it's basically off. Now I try to get it so that just on lightly. That's about as low as I could get it. And if I try to back it off like a smidge, like a quarter of a millimeter, it's off now. So there's no in between, and that kind of annoyed me because there's times I was trying to dial it in. I'm like, oh, it's still a little too wet going into a high gain amp, and I couldn't dial it in because it was just like off, which was a little bit annoying. So like, so notice here, a little I moved it, and it's pretty wet. That's the lowest wetness. So if you push that into a high gain amp, it might be too much. So that's one thing that annoyed me. Makes it sound, a little more one of those out effects of something being digital. I think there's it's either on or off in a certain setting. But that's just something that annoyed me about it. Most people might not even notice it, especially if you're doing an effects loop. Probably that's plenty. But pushing into a high gain amp, usually you want lower mix settings, or else it starts really smacking into itself and being harsh. So let's try the modulation. Let's try a tape setting with some modulation, which I think is this. Got to turn it on first. That'll do. Put the tone back in the center. It's very wide. Somewhere in the middle. Try some different pickups to get a little bit of a... It's a nice modulation sound. Let's try it compared to the Diamond, which is one of my favorite modulation. On a pedal. So here's... To me, that modulation just is, I don't know. I like it better. It's okay. But to my ears, I prefer the Diamond. I definitely prefer the Diamond modulation. I've always said that the modulation of the Diamond has been my favorite. Now the Starlight, let's get that in the mix for a second. I'll do a separate video just on the Starlight, but this is a Starlight with the Bucket Brigade setting. Has some modulation. Just to give you an idea, I'll do a whole separate video just on the Starlight, but I think sound-wise, the Empress and the tape and the analog are good. It gets a dark, murky thing, but let's try like a quick slapback. I have a kind of slapback-ish preset on here. It's all right. Try slapback. Ish setting on the Diamond. So it has a little more of a percussive front, so it's like that. Versus. And I've already tweaked that preset to kind of get the best I could get it out of it. So. Do a slapback-ish sound on the Starlight. You hear that? A little bit slower, but it's hard to get my foot to go that fast. That's both of them, so that's kind of stupid. No, I haven't really dialed in the setting. That slapback on it is a little less percussive on this, and then my personal favorite for the slapback is the Starlight, and the Diamond is also works pretty good. Starlight just has that retro vibe. It works on, you could do a slapback on the bucket, and you could do a slapback. But this is about the ecosystem. So what I would say, my personal opinion, is that it's got good sounds and it does a lot of stuff. Does more than any of the other things. If I was going to choose between this timeline and the ecosystem, I think that the ecosystem is just easier to dial in, easier to work with, a little smaller footprint. Just so no menu diving, and I like the pretty colors. And then let's just talk about a couple of there's a million different sounds I could do. I'm a dumbass. It's not the pedal's fault. I put in the green a couple of the crazy presets. I forget what I put. Check out this filter one. I love that. It's got a really nice filter sound. That's the reverse. No, I have both of those settings done. I have it set 100% wet on the preset, just so you could kind of play, and then all you hear is the reverse of the filter, which is kind of cool. Anyway, this guy. So it's like a forever ambient type of deal. It's really cool. This is one of my favorites. This is basically like a reverse, but then it has like an octave or something on the repeats. I'm not sure exactly, but you can do really cool stuff. I'm gonna turn the amp just down a little bit just because I don't want to blow out the mic. It's just wild. It does different, I don't know, different pitch things on the, and as you change this thing knob, it gets you different pitches. It goes like lower. Just pretty wild. So what I think is the ecosystem does a lot of cool shit. My favorite stuff in it are those weird effects. Like I think the filter's great. I think the reverse is the best reverse that I've heard on a pedal. I like it better than like the D1's reverse and some of the other reverse ones that I've used. And the filters really sounds really good. And you know, there's a bunch of other ones, but you know. It does a lot. It does a lot, and it does it all well. But in my opinion, the tape and the analog, which is what most people are going to use most of the time, doesn't sound as good as some of my other favorite delays. Doesn't sound as good as the Starlight. I still kind of like there was live. I just found that sometimes I wasn't dialing. I had the ecosystem on a preset. I'm like, I wasn't feeling it, and I switched back to the dime, and just because I could dial in just a real basic sound that just always works. And yeah, some of the preset things where you just couldn't get it where you wanted it exactly, dial it in. But I'm a nitpicker. I think most people, if you want something that does a lot of stuff and that's important to you, but that does everything and it does it well and it does it really, really quite good. The ecosystem is something, you know, I think it's compared to, let's say, a D1, which is a little bit smaller footprint, but does a lot of things as well. I think this is like the reverse on this, I like it better. The filter on this, I like it better. The tape, to be honest with you, the tape in the main and analog, I don't know. I'd have to put them next to each other, but I kind of like the D1 a little better. This has a certain sound to it. It's a little bit, I don't know, murkier, mushier. I'm not, you know. So depends. I think between this and the timeline, I like it's just really, really cool. But just I don't know, the sounds on the main delays, the bucket and the tape just didn't sell me as much, you know, as this, let's say, the Starlight did, which I'll do a whole separate video on. But if I had to go gigging with this thing, I did, you know, a bunch of gigs with this, and it was really cool. I do like the fact that it has presets, which the Starlight only has one preset, which is crazy and doesn't make any sense to me. But it has a great sound, so I'll deal with it. You know, otherwise, but it's ergonomically designed really good, a lot of good sounds. Empress is a great company, and they're always putting out new versions of the software you could upgrade. Different things. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's what I'll say about the Empress Echosystems pedal. Very cool.